Inspiring Maid's incredible sacrifice, 50K stolen to save dying child. You want to believe his amazing journey. Mary's hands shook as she wiped down the last countertop in the sprawling mansion. After a long day of mopping, dusting, and scrubbing floors, she could barely feel her legs. But her thoughts were not on her fatigue, they were on her two children. The way Daniel's eyes sparkled when he talked about his dreams of being an astronaut and how Sarah giggled while pretending to be a princess filled Mary's heart with purpose. Every effort she made was to build a better life for them, and in the warmth of their laughter, the strain of her triple work shifts melted away. Their home in Columbus, though modest, was brimming with love. Nights were spent huddled together for story time, Mary's voice filling the room with magical tales of bravery and triumph. You see, kids, she would say, tucking them into bed, hard work always pays off. Never forget that. Those little moments reminded her that they were not just surviving, they were living. Then came the news that shattered the stillness. Tommy, the sweet boy from down the street with the brightest smile, had been diagnosed with a rare illness. The community rallied, hosting bake sales and car washes, trying to raise the staggering amount of $50,000 to save his life. Mary watched from the sidelines, heart heavy but resigned. Her own children faced daily struggles, and they were far from wealthy. Yet, as summer barbecues filled the air with laughter, the conflicting emotions inside her boiled. The thought of losing Tommy, whose laughter echoed through the neighborhood, gnawed at her. She envisioned Daniel and Sarah's innocence slipping away, just like that, if Tommy didn't make it. It was in the quiet of the night, worry threading through her tired mind, that she conceived her reckless plan. Could she take the money from her boss's expansion fund? With her heart racing, she pictured that $50,000. The cost to save one life felt so worth it, even if it meant sacrificing her own integrity. Before she could think twice, Mary set out into the darkness, adrenaline coursing through her. She ran down the streets, her breath escaping in desperate gasps. But just as she reached her boss's office, the plan unraveled. The crinkling bills slipped through her fingers like sand, law enforcement flashing lights engulfing her, panic surged within her, a tide of shame crashing against the walls of hope she'd built. Then, the unthinkable happened. The community learned of her intent. They didn't turn on her, instead, they stood united, each familiar face echoing with compassion. Bake sales transformed into something bigger, they turned into a heartfelt movement. Just then, a local news crew arrived, cameras rolling to capture the unexpected twist in this tale. As she stood there vulnerable, revisiting her choices, her heart ached for her children, who watched the unfolding drama. What if we learn the real truth about Mary's actions? A voice called out, creating a ripple of tension in the air. In that moment, everything hung in the balance: love, community, and her very identity. As she faced the swirling emotions, Mary wondered, could goodness really prevail in this time of hardship? And would the bond of their community withstand the test? Mary's heart raced, every beat echoing the mounting tension in the air. The cameras were relentless, glaring into her soul, and she felt as if the weight of the world rested on her shoulders. Around her, neighbors and friends had gathered, their expressions a mix of concern and unwavering support. Some clutched homemade signs reading justice for Mary while others whispered words of encouragement. "Mommy, are you okay?" Sarah's small voice broke through the chaos. Mary turned to find her daughter's worried eyes scanning her face for reassurance. Daniel, protective as ever, stood right next to her, jaw set tight, fists clenched. "Yes, sweetheart. I'm okay." Mary forced a smile, but it felt foreign on her lips. Her children deserved her strength, but the truth of her actions ate away at her insides. Was it truly okay? Did her choices reflect the values she had woven into their lives? Suddenly, a woman from the crowd stepped forward. It was Mrs. Thompson, the local baker. "I know you didn't mean for things to go this way, Mary," she said softly, her voice cracking. "But this is about more than just you now. It's about Tommy." The mention of Tommy sent a jolt through Mary. Of course, it was about him. It was always about him. She thought of the bake sales and car washes that now seemed trivial compared to the desperate race for time. They had all exhausted their resources to help, but they needed a miracle. "Mary, your actions stirred something beautiful," shouted another neighbor, a man she recognized from the park. "You reminded us that we're stronger together. What matters is what happens next." His words struck deep. Was it possible that her reckless choice could galvanize a community into action? Mary's thoughts were interrupted when a reporter pushed through the crowd, microphone in hand, standing inches from her face. "People want answers, Mary. What do you want to say to the community right now?" she asked, her tone sharp, pressing for clarity amid the chaos of emotions. Mary inhaled sharply. She hadn't prepared for this moment, but the truth bubbled to the surface. "I wanted to save Tommy," she admitted, voice heavy with regret but stronger than she anticipated. "I thought I could help him. I didn't think of how it would affect all of you." As she spoke, her mind filled with images of her children and the reality of Tommy's fight. She owed the community the truth, not just as a maid in their houses but as a mother who understands the weight of sacrifice. "We can still raise the money," her voice broke but steadied with resolve. "Let us do it together." The crowd buzzed with renewed energy, mothers hugging their children tighter, friends exchanging hopeful glances. Just then, the news crew captured the moment. There was a shift in the air, a wave of determination rippling through the crowd. It might have started as her desperate act, but it was transforming into something bigger. The question now was, how far would that strength go? As Mary locked eyes with her children, she realized she had already sparked a flame of hope in their hearts. They might be in this together, but the struggle for Tommy's life would soon become a test of their unity. Will the community rally enough to save him? She wondered, anxiety creeping alongside her resolve. A feeling surged within her, they would fight together, or not at all. But would this newfound unity be enough? Would it all be worth it in the end? As the crowd began to chant, "Together for Tommy," Mary felt their collective strength fueling her resolve. It resonated through her like a heartbeat, reminding her that she wasn't alone. Friends and neighbors stepped forward, rallying together, ready to contribute whatever they could. Each voice, each smile, echoed one message: they would not stand idly by. "Let's organize a fundraising event," called out Mrs. Thompson, her hands waving excitedly in the air. "What about a community bake sale, a car wash, maybe a fun run? We can draw in the whole town." Mary felt the spark of hope alight inside her. Ideas flowed in like cool water on a hot day. Each person added a new layer to the plan, promising to offer what they could to support the cause. Children were suddenly clutching crayons, drawing posters urging others to join. The energy was contagious, and Mary could see her children's faces flicker with excitement, a hopeful glimmer sparking in their eyes. "Mommy, can we help?" Sarah asked, her hands already busy tearing paper to make signs. Daniel jumped in to grab markers, excitedly scrawling, "Save Tommy." Across the colorful sheets, their eagerness reminded Mary of the power in small hands and big hearts. It was about more than fundraising now, it was about community. It was a balm for her soul, healing the raw wound of her earlier guilt. They were becoming part of something much more significant, a revolution woven through the fabric of their little town. With every passing minute, the crowd outside her home grew larger. It was astonishing how many lives one child could touch. Mary took a deep breath, feeling empowered by the warmth of the embracing community. Yet, doubt lingered at the edges of her mind. How would they raise enough money? Time was running out. "Let us get everybody involved," she called out. "We could reach out to local businesses. Maybe even set up a GoFundMe." "Good thinking," shouted one of the neighbors, and soon the crowd buzzed with ideas. People began sharing how they could use their skills. One man suggested a neighborhood garage sale, and a couple of kids wanted to donate their allowance as a start. The logistical part felt overwhelming, but determination swept at her ankles like a rising tide. They collectively decided to hold the event the coming weekend. It became clear, this was no longer a desperate plea, it was a movement. As dusk began to settle, Mary felt the exhaustion creep in. She looked at Sarah and Daniel, both bubbling with excitement. "You two have done so much today. Why don't we head home and be sure we're ready for tomorrow?" A chorus of agreement erupted from her children, and the energy from the crowd nudged them on. They waved goodbye to their neighbors and started walking back, hand in hand, burdened by the enormity of the challenge. Mary's heart raced again. Tommy's life depended on it. All the energy and good intentions would mean nothing without results. As they approached the door, Sarah turned and asked, "Mommy, will we really save him?" Mary paused, kneeling to look her daughter in the eye. "I believe we will, honey. We're all in this together." But deep inside, Mary couldn't shake her doubts. What if it wasn't enough? That night, alone with her thoughts, Mary continued to juggle hope and fear. She closed her eyes, praying for signs of strength for the coming days, but as dawn broke, a knock echoed against their door. It was the local news crew again. They wanted to interview Mary about the growing movement. Could this enhance their efforts? Would the publicity help? Mary's heart began to race anew. Would the story of their unity inspire others beyond their community? Only time would tell if this was the turning point they desperately needed. Mary felt her heart hammering in her chest as she opened the door to the news crew. The camera lenses glinted like heroes ready to capture her small-town fight. A young reporter with bright eyes and a contagious smile introduced herself, instantly radiating energy. "Good morning. We're excited to hear about what you're organizing for Tommy." The entire town seems to be buzzing. Nervous but inspired, Mary took a deep breath. "Thank you for coming. We're hoping to rally together as a community for a fundraising event to help cover Tommy's medical costs. He means the world to us." As she spoke, she felt the weight of her purpose settle on her shoulders. The reporter asked questions, and Mary answered with a sincerity that shone through. She saw the cameramen capturing her children in the background, their determined faces echoing the passion of the rallying crowd. "Can you share how this all started?" The reporter pressed, eliciting a deeper well of emotions from Mary. She thought of Tommy, of the late-night conversations with his mother, of the burden that lay heavy on their family's hearts. "It started when we learned about Tommy's diagnosis. He's just a little boy, and we had to do something." As the interview continued, Mary felt the spark of hope transform into something electric. People across the county would see this, perhaps raise awareness, maybe even dig into their pockets. She could see it, a cascade effect of compassion. Each word shared seemed to ripple further beyond her small town. The reporter nodded, and when she caught the children's hopeful smiles, she knew they were doing more than just raising money. They were igniting a spirit of togetherness, the kind that transcends barriers. Once the cameras stopped rolling, Mary felt lighter, buoyed by the warmth of human connection. Before she could return inside, a few neighbors approached, excitedly suggesting new ideas for the event. "How about a bake-off contest?" one pitched. Another offered to run a raffle. Just like strands in a beautiful tapestry, each person added more color to their cause. Days passed like a flurry of activity. Posters were hung around town, flyers distributed, and baking sheets flourished with treats made by loving hands. Mary felt a sense of urgency, but it was laced with determination and support. Underneath her layers of concern, warmth started to bloom in her heart. But then, as the dawn broke on their event day, whispers of a storm swirled through the air. Dark clouds loomed, uninvited and daunting. Chills snaked up Mary's spine as she stared at the gray sky. What if it pours? She worried out loud, the fear creeping back in. "Mommy, it's okay. We can make it work." Daniel reassured her, patting her hand. His optimism acted as a buoy, lifting her spirits. The morning of the event arrived amid muted sunlight, the clouds shifting their weight, threatening to spill. Still, the townspeople showed up, determined and brave, just as they had rallied around Mary days before. Their laughter mixed with the aroma of baked goodies, the rhythmic splashes of water from the car wash, and the jubilant cheers of children as they raced around. Just as the fun began, a worried murmur spread through the crowd. The dark clouds overhead rolled thicker, rumbling like an approaching train. Mary's heart sank. Would their efforts wash away? Then, the first drops fell, splattering against the pavement. The crowd hesitated, looking up as raindrops danced on their heads. In that moment, an elderly man stepped forward, raising his voice over the rumble of thunder. "We do this for Tommy. Rain or shine, let us keep going." A ripple of agreement surged through the crowd. They wouldn't let a little rain dampen their spirits. This was their fight. As the rain fell, laughter mingled with the sounds of friendship. Mary couldn't believe how strong they all were together. But deep down, she still felt the trepidation. What if this wasn't enough to save Tommy? With the storm clouds dark and looming, one question loomed heavier. What would it take to truly save a child? The storm intensified, thickening the air with uncertainty. Mary stood at the center of the grassy park, pulling her jacket tighter around her. She could see the townspeople solidifying their resolve against the weather. Their enthusiasm was infectious, but the dread weighed on her heart like an anchor. The colors of the bake sale booths dulled in the rain, but the laughter continued unabated. Families shared umbrellas, children splashed through puddles, and for that brief moment, Mary felt a swelling pride in their bravery. Would this be enough? She glanced over at the kids, their faces beaming with hope. Daniel was busy helping at the lemonade stand alongside his sister, Mia, whose cheeks dimpled as she served cups. The sight of them, joyful amidst the storm, brought a flicker of light to her anxious thoughts. Suddenly, a loud clap of thunder rolled through the sky, rattling the nerves of the crowd. They looked around, heads turning in unison, apprehension etched on their faces. Would they scatter at the first sign of real trouble? Mary's stomach twisted as she bit her lip. Just then, the elderly man who had spoken earlier stood up again, water streaming down his face. "Keep your feet planted," he cried out, his voice fierce and unwavering. "We're here for Tommy. We show up when it's hard." The crowd responded with cries of agreement, their fear melting under the warmth of unity. Mary felt her heart swell. This was more than just a fundraiser. It was about community, about love, and about fighting for a child who couldn't fight for himself. She shared a glance with the reporter, who had remained in the crowd, capturing the spirit of resilience on film. The camera's light winked, reflecting the determination in everyone's eyes. Mary smirked, realizing they were becoming part of something bigger than any of them had imagined. "Let us get back to it," Mary shouted, her voice buoyed by adrenaline. "Who's ready for the bake-off contest?" Hands shot up as cheers echoed through the park. Everyone resumed their places, embracing the rain with laughter and long smiles. They started to sing "Lean on Me," their voices harmonizing, growing louder with every verse. But in the back of her mind, a whisper still tugged at her. Would the love and support of their small town be enough? She glanced over at the booth dedicated to Tommy, its banner waving like a flag in the wind. Each dollar they raised mattered, each moment spent working for him pulled at her thoughts fiercely. As the event wore on, the rain slowly eased, and after what felt like an eternity, a ray of sunlight broke through the clouds. Cheers erupted from the crowd as they felt the warmth touch their skin. An unexpected burst of energy traveled through her, mingling with renewed hope, but then, a shadow crossed Mary's face. With so much at stake, she still needed more than this single day of fundraising. She could feel the weight of responsibility settle on her once again. The glimmer of hope danced before her eyes but remained just out of reach. What else could they do? The question lingered like mist in the air. Would the townsfolk rally to do even more to save Tommy? That challenge hung heavy, like the clouds that had just begun to part. With the sun finally breaking free from the clouds, a new energy filled the air. Mary could almost taste it. Laughter swirled around her, even as the deep shadows of doubt loomed close. The bake-off was in full swing, and she watched as families presented their colorful, inventive desserts. Each cupcake, pie, and cookie was not just a treat, it was a piece of their hearts, a tangible offering of love for Tommy, but despite the excitement, there was an undercurrent of fear that gnawed at Mary. As the first batch of baked goods disappeared in a flash, she realized how soon they would need to come up with a plan for the weeks to follow. Their community had shown up today, but would they continue to show up for the battles that lay ahead? She looked to Daniel and Mia, who were now sneaking taste tests of everything offered by the other booths. Their giggles punctured the tension in her chest and reminded her why they were here. For Tommy. She took a deep breath, hoping this day could ignite a spark within everyone to fight for more than just today's success. Let us do something special. She shouted suddenly, her voice cutting through the laughter. How about a raffle? The more we can offer, the stronger we stand for Tommy. The crowd murmured curiously, and she quickly explained the plan. People exchanged glances, as though weighing the meaning of her words. Not just desserts, but experiences. She added, her excitement infectious. Think about what we can offer: a homemade dinner, a painting lesson, anything. A few hands shot up, eager to offer up their talents or services. Maria, the school art teacher, committed to a private painting class. Tom, who ran a local diner, offered a steak dinner for two. Ideas flowed, each one sparked by the last. Mary felt a shift take place. Hope started to grow between them. As the last crumbs of cake disappeared, she took inventory of their determination. This was not just an event, this was a partner in a journey, a rallying cry for everyone who loved Tommy. Just then, a flash of movement caught her eye near the booth dedicated to Tommy. A group of teenagers huddled together, whispering and laughing. She noticed one of them subtly pulling out a smartphone, pointing it at the donation board where they wrote down the collected funds. Mary's heart raced. Was it her imagination, or was there something sneaky about the way they were acting? She walked closer, concerns peeking above the surface again. They were closer to the donations than she had realized. What if they were here to sabotage? Hey! She called, her voice steady but loud enough to break through the joyful chatter. The teenagers froze, caught. They turned, eyes wide like deer in headlights. We were just looking at the poster," one stammered. Mary didn't buy it. Looking? Or planning to take? She pressed, crossing her arms. She could feel the weight of every adult's gaze turning toward her. Just leave us alone. One of the girls shot back defiantly. The tension crackled in the air, and Mary felt every heartbeat resonate like an alarm bell. This wasn't just about baking anymore, now they were really up against something. Would they defend their cause or falter in fear? As conversations around her faded into a tense silence, she realized one thing: the fight was just beginning. But as the day unfolded, another storm was brewing, one that threatened not only their fundraiser but the spirit of their community as well. Would they come together when it truly mattered, or would they be torn apart? Mary stood, a whirlwind of emotions stirring within her. The laughter of the bake-off seemed a distant echo now, replaced by the tension that wrapped around her, thick and suffocating. She searched the faces in the crowd, hoping to find support, encouragement, something to rally them all in solidarity. But all eyes were drawn towards the teenagers, who now looked more anxious than defiant. What's this really about? She stepped closer, her voice steady but firm, demanding clarity. Are you here to help us, or do you plan to mess this up for everyone? One of the boys shifted uncomfortably, glancing back at his friends. We just wanted to see how much you guys raised, he mumbled, avoiding eye contact. Because you care so much? Mary challenged, raising an eyebrow and scanning their expressions. She held her breath, hoping her words might penetrate the layers of bravado. Yeah, well, maybe we thought you could use some help, a girl finally admitted, her voice softer now, almost too quiet against the fervor of the bake-off chaos. A flicker of hope sparked inside Mary. Maybe they weren't the antagonists she feared. What kind of help? She asked, leaning closer, ready to engage them. In response, the group hesitated, exchanging glances that suggested they were weighing their options. Mary could feel the crowd watching, and with it, the expectation that hung heavy in the air. Listen, she continued, gentle but insistent, today isn't just about cake and cookies, it's about Tommy. If you can help, we'll gladly accept it. But if you just want to stand there and cause trouble, that would hurt us all. Something shifted, and for a moment, it seemed like the teenagers might crack. The girl, who had been silent until now, finally spoke up. We don't want to ruin it. We just thought it was boring. Mary took a deep breath, trying to reel in her own frustration. Boring? This is about coming together, about fighting for something we all believe in. Just look around. Everyone is trying their best, even if it's just baking. The tension began to dissolve, replaced by a growing curiosity from the crowd. Murmurs rippled through as people overheard her words, feeling her sincerity. Mary could feel the warmth of connection sizzle in the air, all hesitation beginning to melt away. Fine, the girl responded, her voice more resolute now. We'll help. But we want to do it our way. Absolutely. Mary's heart surged. What do you have in mind? Pride and determination ignited in her chest as the teenagers began to brainstorm ideas. We can run a mini-game for kids. Charge $1 to play, and all the donations go straight to Tommy. Cheers erupted from those nearby, excitement taking root. Mary encouraged them, bolstering their confidence. It felt like a mini-revolution of youthful enthusiasm against the shadow of doubt that had almost consumed them all. As the teens tossed around ideas, Daniel and Mia returned to her side, their smiles contagious. Did you see that? Daniel whispered, excitement evident in his voice. They want to help. Yes. This is what we need, Mary said, glancing back at the teens, who were now approaching a booth to gather supplies. The energy of the bake-off seemed to be morphing in front of her eyes, pulling more people in, weaving an entirely new fabric of community, but just as Mary allowed herself to bask in the moment, a flicker of disquiet dashed through her mind. Would this tentative alliance hold? What else awaited them beyond this impromptu collaboration? With this newfound hope, they might be on the brink of something more special than just baked goods, but how long could that last? The question lingered ominously in her heart. Could the strength of their community withstand the looming challenges that lay ahead? Mary felt the pulse of hope in the air, but unease still clung to her. The teens were disorganized, fumbling through supplies as they debated how to run the mini-game. She could sense a storm brewing, a mix of excitement and the weight of responsibility. It was thrilling to let them take charge, yet she worried they might drop the ball when it mattered most. Okay, everyone listen up. The girl with the bright blue hair called out, her voice rising above the chatter. We need to set up a booth over there. Who's good at games? Hands shot up. Laughter echoed, cutting through the tension. Mary smiled, her heart lifting with each shared moment. Together, they were building something important. What will the game be? Daniel leaned in, curiosity glimmering in his eyes. When we say Baker Bingo, she shouted. Kids can win prizes, and the money goes to Tommy. Who's in? Cheers erupted, and even Mary found herself caught up in the enthusiasm. With a group of enthusiastic teens, she moved to gather supplies. They set up colorful bingo cards, filled jars with mixed candies for prizes, and decorated the booth with banners that read "Play to Save Tommy." As the crowd began to gather, the noise faded into the background, and for a moment, it felt like a world of its own. Parents cheered as their kids lined up, clutching dollars like treasure. But as Mary watched the teens animate the booth with playful energy, a nagging doubt crept back. What if this joy masked deeper issues? Could they keep this momentum going when faced with real struggles? Glancing towards the bake-off area, she saw Mia and Daniel working hard, dishing out cakes and cookies to weary but delighted patrons. "We've got this," Mia called to Mary, her arm covered in flour, a trophy of hard work, but everything could shift so quickly. In the back of her mind, Mary recalled the last bake-off, how it spiraled into chaos after a small argument turned into a fight. That memory weighed on her like a heavy blanket. "Mary!" shouted another teen, pulling her from her thoughts. "More kids want to join in. We're almost out of supplies." "Okay, let us do this." Stepping back into the fray, she felt a rush, invigorated by the camaraderie spilling over the booth. Voices danced in the air, laughter igniting like fireworks. Kids jumped up and down, their faces lit with hope, while parents watched with soft smiles that spoke of gratitude and cautious optimism. But then Mary noticed something. A girl at the edge of the crowd stood alone, her eyes darting around anxiously. Mary had seen her before. She was part of the group that initially threatened to ruin everything. "Are you all right?" Mary asked, walking towards her. I didn't know if I could just jump in," she stammered, hesitant. "Of course you can. We're all in this together," Mary replied, hoping her warmth would dissipate the girl's uncertainties. "Everyone is welcome." In that moment, as the word together hung between them, Mary realized how much this day truly meant. It wasn't just about raising money, it was about building bridges. The girl hesitated, then nodded, a small smile breaking free. "Okay. Can I help?" "Absolutely." Just then, a loud commotion erupted from the other side of the bake-off area. Mary turned, her heart racing. What is going on? Voices rose and tempers flared. She needed to act quickly. Would the harmony they fought so hard to build unravel? With an eager breath, Mary rushed toward the chaos, resolved to protect this fragile alliance. Would she be able to steer them back to unity, or was it too late to prevent a disaster? The true test of community was yet to come. Mary's heart thundered in her chest as she darted toward the commotion. A crowd of people had gathered, and from the sound, it was clear that voices had escalated into a heated argument. She spotted Mia, her friend from the bake-off, standing beside Daniel, both looking bewildered as a group of older teens confronted them. "What do you think you're doing? Just because you guys organized this event doesn't mean you own it." A tall boy shouted, his face contorted with anger. "We're just trying to help raise money, that's all." Mia shot back, her usually cheerful demeanor replaced with frustration. Mary pushed her way through the onlookers, the vibrant sounds of laughter and joy slowly dissipating into an uneasy silence. As she reached Mia and Daniel, she could feel the tension crackling in the air. "Let us all calm down," Mary said, raising her hands to show she was there to mediate. "This is supposed to be fun. We're all trying to help Tommy." The tall boy scoffed. "Help? By only letting your friends play? You think that's fair?" Mary looked around, noticing the uncertain expressions on the faces of those gathered. "We want everyone to participate. That's the point. Everyone here wants to help out, right?" "Right." Several voices chimed in, but the tall boy sneered back. "Yeah? Then why do I see only certain people getting prizes?" He shot back. Mary could see the fire in his eyes, and it ignited a flicker of something in her, a desire to protect not just the event but the very spirit of community they had built together. "Then let us fix it," she proposed, hoping her voice would cut through the discontent. "How about we let everyone who wants to play join in, and we can create a way for those who have played already to help out?" The tall boy's eyebrows raised slightly. "You think that's gonna solve everything?" "It's a start," Mary replied firmly. "This is about coming together to support one of our own. If we can find a way to include everyone, we can turn this around. We owe it to Tommy." A murmur rippled through the crowd as they considered her words. Slowly, the boy's expression softened, a hint of doubt creeping into his fierce demeanor. "All right," he relented, crossing his arms. "You get to prove that." "Great!" Mary exclaimed, breathing a sigh of relief. "So how about we set up a second bingo game? We can rotate out players. More chances for everyone." As ideas began to flow, the tension lessened. The kids chimed in with suggestions, enthusiasm igniting once again. Mary felt the warmth of happiness return as she saw smiles replacing frowns. Amidst the newfound camaraderie, Mary turned to the girl with the bright blue hair, who had initially led the team. "See? We might just turn this around." "Yeah, but it's still fragile," she replied, glancing at the tall boy. "What if this just keeps happening?" Mary knew she couldn't let fear dictate their actions. "Then we keep working through it. That's the only way we'll build stronger connections. Everyone deserves to be a part of this, and if we face challenges together, we'll be unstoppable." The resolve in her voice seemed to resonate, and slowly, the energy returned to the crowd as they rallied behind the new plan. But even as the game resumed and laughter filled the air once more, Mary could sense that the calm wouldn't last forever. Just as people began to settle back into their routines, a sudden shout soared above the crowd, loud enough to make her heart freeze. "Look out! They're taking the money from the booth." Mary whipped her head around, her stomach dropping. A group was rapidly approaching their booth, eyes intent on the cash box. Would they stand strong together again, or would this moment tear everything apart? The battle for unity wasn't over yet. Mary sprang into action, her heart racing as she locked eyes with the group coming toward the booth. They were teenagers, rowdy and undeterred, pushing through the crowd with no regard for the energy that had just blossomed. "Stop!" Mary yelled, urgency flooding her voice. She rushed forward, adrenaline surging through her veins. This wasn't just about the money, it was about the community that had united against the odds. The laughter and joy that had filled the air seconds ago hung by a thread now, and it was up to her to mend it. "Hey! What do you think you're doing?" One of the boys at the front looked startled but defiant. "It's just a game. We're taking what we deserve." "Deserve?" Mary replied, taking a deep breath to steady herself. "This is about Tommy. It's about saving a life. Do you really think this is the way to honor that?" The other teens glanced at each other, uncertainty flickering in their eyes. "You think he's worth it? Look at you, all dressed up, playing heroes," another girl shouted, fear and anger blending in her tone. "Instead of tearing each other down, how about we build something more?" Mary replied, her voice earnest. "You may not see it, but we're part of something greater. You're risking everything we've built." Just behind her, she noticed the crowd gathering, murmurs of solidarity rippling through familiar faces. "We're here for Tommy," a local shop owner shouted. "We all are." The boy from the group hesitated. "But what if we don't care about Tommy? What if we want our fun, too? Everyone's having a good time." Mary stepped closer, meeting him eye to eye. "Then let us make it a good time for everyone. Help us turn this crowd into a place for unity rather than an arena for conflict. Join us." She pleaded, her voice unwavering. Slowly, he looked at the people standing behind her, friends, neighbors, those who'd baked their hearts out for Tommy. Realization washed over his face like dawn breaking a long night. He couldn't be the one to ruin this. With a sigh, he lowered his head. "Okay. So what do we do?" Relief flooded Mary's heart. "Let us all be part of this movement together. Work with us on the games. We can rotate players between bingo and other fun challenges. This can be everyone's day." The crowd erupted into cheers, brighter and stronger than before. Moments later, the group of teenagers cautiously approached the booth, and Mary felt the tension lift. They were mending, rebuilding anew. As the day pressed on, laughter echoed through the park, and the spirit of community bloomed like wildflowers. Bingo games thrived, kids dashed from station to station, while parents cheered them on. The old divisions faded into the past as new friendships blossomed amid the joy. Mary walked through the throng, observing the melting barriers as kids from different backgrounds played side by side. She caught sight of Tommy's mother, who stood a few paces away, tears of gratitude glimmering in her eyes. In that moment, Mary knew something beautiful was unfolding, more than a fundraiser, but a testament to compassion. "Look, Mommy." Sarah tugged at her shirt, her face lit with excitement. "We did it. Everyone's playing together." "Yes, sweetheart. This is how we make a difference." Mary smiled, her heart swelling with pride. As darkness fell, candles flicked to life, illuminating faces that sparkled in the gentle light of hope. And there it was, the power of community, witnessing the love that had carried them here. "Thank you." Tommy's mother spoke loud enough for the entire crowd to hear. "Thank you for coming together. This means everything to us." Cheers erupted, and Mary felt a wave of purpose wash over her. They weren't just saving Tommy's life, they were saving each other's spirits in the process. "Together for Tommy," echoed through the park, fueled by a collective heartbeat of love. Mary looked around, feeling the electric energy connect them as one. As the event wrapped up, Mary stood in front of the donation box, her heart racing. They had raised not just dollars, but dignity, respect, and a reaffirmation of unity that she thought might be lost forever. In that moment, she vowed to carry this spirit forward, to teach her children about love's power, how truth and connection could heal and inspire. As she embraced Daniel and Sarah, tears of joy filled her eyes. They had faced the storm, and together, they had triumphed. And for Tommy? A new chapter in his journey awaited. Now, more than ever, support our community. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Let us grow together. Comment your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is your moment to show your support. Together, we can make a difference. Don't wait not even one more second to share.